Ready? Okay, is the microphone adequate? Okay. My name's Greg Schoen, and I work with Florida de Mayo on this project that we're doing here, primarily with the seeds. I live down near Silver City. I can be reached through the PATH organization, so there is an email there on that website for me. Some of what I'd like to share, concerning the seeds, a lot of what we have to say sometimes when we're describing the seed is we talk about the corn, because that is like an archetype. It's almost like the authority of all the other seeds. And you'll see some of what we have displayed here that is from this year's gathering. And what I'd like to share with you is there was a gentleman by the name of Carl Barnes who had a part in a lot of the work, indirectly, and a part in a lot of the work we're doing here. He's still living, by the way, so I'm saying he was, but he's still living. Part Cherokee ancestry, and from his family grew up, or was from the eastern part of Oklahoma, and then when he was a young child, the immediate family moved to the western part of Oklahoma and had a homestead, and actually went through the Dust Bowl years. And during his growing up and becoming a teenager, he came to a time in his life when he wanted to find out about his roots, and so he was able to visit with his grandfather and learn about the sacred elements of the seed and some of the teachings of his people. One of the things that was shared was his grandfather would say that if you do the prayer and the ceremony with the seed, that the old ones will return. And he also said the children will reappear, the grandmothers will reappear in the children. And so he took this to heart, and he became an adult, and among the other things that he did in his life, he did some farming on the land that they had that was now out in western Oklahoma, where it's very much like the country we're in right now. It's very arid and open country. And he began to do a lot of the growing a lot of the old corn varieties, which at that time still had a lot of their diversity. And he also became knowledgeable in a lot of the different tribes. There were many different native tribes that are in different parts of Oklahoma from periods of history and that were brought there. And so he was knowledgeable about their traditions and a lot about some of their old crops. And he did, when he would grow the corn, he did the prayer and the ceremony, and he did begin to see things reappearing in the fields. And because of the understanding that he had seen varieties of corn and examples of it that resembled what the people that he knew. He said, this is the corn of the Choctaw, or this is the corn of the Muskogee Creek, and he would then go find those people. And one of the things that the Cherokee especially would say, the corn is our blood. It's one and the same as our bloodline, our ancestry, our heritage. And so he would bring this corn to those people and say, is this your blood? And they would look at it, and he would bring it to their elders, and they would examine it, and they would go and meditate on it, and they'd go, yes, this is what we lost. And that act of bringing and repatriating that corn would bring back a connection, a spiritual connection with those people. And from what I understood, from what his work was, that this was the core and the essence of what he was doing, is he was bringing back reconnecting those people with their heritage. And in the process of doing that, there was also several of us that got to know him in later years, that from different parts of that area of the country. And he would teach us about how he would say the seed remembers. He would try to really, just in that one little phrase, that was the essence of the whole thing. And then another thing that he would sometimes say, and he would expound on, and it was kind of a real mysterious thing, and he would say, the promise of the rainbow in the sky, 144,000 colors, tones, and sounds, a new language of humanity. And it was like, how can we comprehend that? And there was a man and a woman from the Pawnee, that's a Plains tribe, the Pawnee Nation, that did an article about their efforts to recover the seeds, and they were doing. They're in the northern part of Oklahoma, and they're originally from Nebraska and that part of the world. And they were in the process of recovering a lot of their old seed from different sources that they were able to find it, and especially certain ceremonial corns. And in their article, they said, they were talking about one of their corns, and they said, had we lost this corn, we would have lost our language. And it was, okay, the blood, the seed, and the language are one. And around that same time, I remember seeing an article in another newspaper clipping about a farmer in South Korea, and he was talking about how these companies were bringing in all this seed that was the modern agricultural seed for their rice, and it was displacing the traditional seed that they've been growing. And the man was lamenting. He said, I'm losing my spirituality because of this. And so this is starting to mean something. And we've heard about some of the work where people are saying that our DNA is a living thing. It's not like a just code that stays the same, that it's affected by our emotions and our thoughts, and it can be altered, and evolution is going on with more intelligence than we've ever considered. And that when the ancient people in the times 500 years ago had some foreknowledge that there would be some big changes, and that there would be people coming from across the sea, and that would change everything, and that their knowledge would go underground or be lost, and people would go to sleep, and there would be a time where the knowledge would be gone. And so it's possible that those elders put that, with their intent, the knowledge that they had, into the seeds by just the force of their spirit and their will, and that this energy can change even outside into other life forms. Like, here you are, a human being holding a seed, making it a different thing than it is. And that they embedded that knowledge in there for a time in the future when we would find it again, when we were ready. And it's just like the ancient Egyptians did the same thing with their knowledge was being lost, and they put it in all the symbols in their architecture and their codes of mystery, the Tibetans and the scrolls and all this, for a time in the future when we'd be able to recover it. And so we come into the future time, and like, let me pick this up right here. We've got something like this that has all this different information in it. And if you go to your local grocery store around this time of year, they have this different corn that looks different colors for your fall decorations, for the autumn decorations, and you pick these up, and it's like you pick one of these up and you're holding a piece of the Library of Alexandria. That was the place where all the records were kept. And it's not by happenstance that we have a man by the name of Alejandro, which is the same as Alexander, which is what Alexandria was named for, which was the place of the records. And this gentleman comes to teach us about the records of the time, of all time, and the knowledge. And here we have a piece of that. And we ask, we say, well, this is scattered all over the place. All those books were lost. They were scattered all over the place. And yet, at the right time, each piece knows how to come back together and find all of its brothers and sisters and come back together. And we're also in a time where there's been some tampering with the sacred codes that are in the seed and the genetics. We call it GMO, the genetically modified, the biotech companies. This is taking and putting an artificial or a false piece of information into the genes to make it so they can control it and do things with it. And it's like taking a piece of scripture of like the ancient Tibetans or any of the Mayans and taking and putting a little false message in there to control it. And so this is why we want to find the seed that is free of that and guard it and protect it and propagate it and share it with people, because this is all over now. This is going on. Even less than a quarter of a mile from here is a field of corn which is very likely to be GMO, which is commercial corn right there, which is being harvested today as we speak. And so in this new time, I mean, I also feel like even though we have the peril of all this artificial material being put into our crops, is that we're in this new energy of the new sun, and that these waves of frequencies are acting. Mother Nature always has the upper hand and will adapt to all of our follies and make a lot of the GMO corn and other seeds and other crops sterile, and it may on its own just pass away. But at the same time, we have to do our work, and that's what our purpose here. Seed banks and seed temples like we have here, places all over the world that are this great movement of consciousness to work with the seed. We each can't do all of it. Everybody has to work together and communicate and collaborate. And we're here to find some of the seed and grow it and share it and educate people and rebuild culture. And granted, some of our seed, some of the kinds will pass away. It may be their time. Some that haven't even appeared yet may show up, that are part of the new time. They're part of our celestial heritage that will be showing up. So there will be new seeds to steward that we don't even know about. And so the work we're doing is just as simple as connecting with all the people here in the Estancia Valley in this area and beyond to find out what would you like to try to grow in this climate, in this soil, in this type of a place, and see what we can rebuild and have new kinds of farming right here, and then share that with other people and let it continue to go on. And then as we connect with people all over the place, this purpose that we're hoping to serve is carried forward.